You can go and present.
Hello, my name is Susan Barlow, and I am one of the partners for the New York State Transition Partnership Program. This grant is funded through the Rehab Services Administration. It was a 5-year grant, and they gave us an extra year, so that's why we're here. And this is one of our learning communities. My understanding is we have quite the crowd today, so I'd like to welcome you all. Just to give you a little background for those of you who are not familiar, the New York State Transition Partners is a grant that we received amongst 3 organizations, include New York NYC, Starbridge, and Parent Network. And the purpose of the grant is to support families who have children in the transitioning age group, and we do so by holding these learning communities. And we, in some of the years, in this year, we will be giving out some scholarships to attend a statewide conference, which stay tuned. The other is we give out mini grants, and there will be an RFP, request for proposal, coming out soon. In addition, if you are interested in keeping up with all this, then you should go to the www.nystransitionpartners.org, which is our website. And when you go there, you'll find all kinds of materials. We do a lot of development of one-page, easy-to-read fact sheets, and you can subscribe to a monthly e-blast that has all the information you could ever need on transition, including information about when our RFP is coming out and when our conference is going to happen. And stay tuned. If you have any questions, you can always email our program coordinator, and her name is Nancy Campbell, and she is available by email through nsc@parentnetworkwny.org. And I know this is being recorded, so if you didn't write it fast enough, you can go back and check out the webinar, and at the end I will repeat this information. So now it is my great honor to introduce a gentleman that I met a very long time ago. Sorry, John.
It's all good.
Who is what I would call a little bit of a guru around employment opportunities for people with disabilities. He actually is the leader and founder of an organization called Our Ability, Access to Opportunity, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details because I'm going to let him take it from there. Thank you very much, and if you have any chats, please use the chat box, which I believe will be on your right. Thank you.
Definitely use the chats. I'm going to try to watch it as I speak, but you know, walking and chewing gum is difficult sometimes. That's sort of my first advice. My second advice is put your feet back, don't fall asleep, you know, pay attention. My third advice is if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me. I speak for a living. I don't get bothered if I'm interrupted. I actually would rather have the dialogue, and I realize that's hard on a webinar, but if you have a question, I don't want you to wait. Please go ahead and chat away, and I'll try to answer those questions. And the final advice I have is that I am working from home today. I've got an 8-year-old black lab who is very vocal, and we're gonna all pray here in the next 45 minutes that there are no dogs walking by. So there we go. That's all full disclosure. Now, hello everybody. I am John Robinson. I own Our Ability. We happen to be the official New York State chapter lead for the national organization called Disability In. So that's why we have 3 logos on the screen in front of you. At Our Ability, we mentor, connect, and inspire people with disabilities towards employment. Everything we stand for is access to opportunity. And if I'm to boil it down, quite frankly, our purpose and our mission is to fulfill the dreams of individuals with disabilities. That's it. We understand what it means to have a dream. Example, you can go to the next slide. I am a person with a disability. I'm a quad amputee. I am 3 foot 8 inches tall without the extension of my arms and my legs. That is me on the screen. Some of you may have heard of me or know me. Some of you have not, but that is me on the top of a mountain. I was born a little over 50 years ago in Binghamton, New York, without the extension of my arms and my legs. Born to two parents that wanted more from my life than maybe the world expected. And so when I say our mission is to fulfill dreams of people with disabilities, that's exactly what we want to do. We understand that people with disabilities have dreams, goals, and hopes, just as anybody else does, and parents do as well. And so this transition age of individuals with disabilities moving through life is extremely important. And what we need to do is to fulfill those dreams. Example, when I was 5 years old, playing with Matchbox cars on the dining room floor, my mother turned to me and said, "John, it's not just going to be a Matchbox car. When you're 16, we're going to buy you a car." And, when you're 5 years old, you're not thinking you're going to be able to drive a car. But what my mother did right there was made that dream awfully big. And that dream is vital. If you're a person with a disability, you've been told by society you're not good enough. And it's our responsibility as people that support, people that love, people that care for individuals with disabilities that we need to keep that dream big, because big dreams make big things. And when I turned 16, I got that car, and that car was more than going to the movies. That car was getting an education and getting a job. And so for the last 10 years, have run Our Ability as a way to make those dreams bigger for people with disabilities. Now, I understand what that means. That means, to me, the fuel for these dreams has to be employment. That employment allowed me on that path to be able not only to pay for that car, but to get married, to have 3 kids, to have the mortgage I don't want to pay for, all the other great things in life. But employment has allowed things in my life to happen. And so what Our Ability does is we try to make the dreams big. And so we help people with disabilities find employment. And if you're transition age, we help you working towards employment. And if you're middle school or high school age, we talk about how important education is to work towards employment. So that is what we're all about. Forward to the next slide. What we do things actively and passively. So actively, we get calls, emails, correspondence every day from individuals with disabilities, from parents, from family members, from disability service providers, asking us for help. Can you help me find a job? I just got an email from somebody in India. It wasn't a spam India email. It was a real India email saying, "I've got cerebral palsy and need help finding a job." We get emails all day long asking for help. And the truth is, we can't help everybody actively, but we can help a lot of people passively. So we will help people actively when they reach out to us when we can. But passively, we spent a lot of time building a portal on our website where individuals with disabilities can sign in, tell us who they are, build a profile, which I'll show in a minute, and then search for jobs. And so the passive way that we help people is by putting a lot of resource and a lot of time, a lot of effort into a portal where people can build up their ability. And it is really essential that we do this, because we can't help everybody. And the genesis of that, I'll just tell you a little bit, is we went out to LinkedIn in Silicon Valley some 9-10 years ago and asked LinkedIn if they would please put a place on the website where people with disabilities can build up their ability. Reason being, when I would look for jobs after I graduated university with a degree in television, radio, film, and I'd walk into the interview, I was shunned for 4.5 years. If LinkedIn had been around and I had a place to show my disability before I got there and shed that discrimination, for lack of a better term, my career path might have been easier. So we went to LinkedIn and asked them to do it. They said no, but if we built it, they would be supportive. Well, we built it, and they've been somewhat supportive. but it's been a big help to the people that sign into our system and want to search for jobs and build up their ability. And so I urge any parent out there, any person with a disability out there, any service provider out there, if you've got people looking for jobs, we need to know who they are and have them get to know us online. Go to slide 4, please. Excellent. We have built a successful track record, and we work with 40 businesses around the Northeast that are committed to building workforce that includes people with disabilities. We have facilitated the hiring of hundreds of candidates and formed a partnership with many service providers in doing so. And I'll give you a quick example. A couple of years ago, if anybody watched the Super Bowl, you know that there's an upstate New York company that won a contest and got a Super Bowl ad for free. That manufacturer is called Death Wish Coffee. They're in Saratoga County. They brew very strong coffee. They don't brew it, they roast it. Death Wish Coffee is really good, really strong, and it's a best kept secret up until 2 years ago. People from Starbucks moved out to Saratoga County and started their own coffee company. After that Super Bowl ad hit, their business exploded. And when their business exploded, they needed employees. We've been working with Death Wish Coffee to fulfill those job roles. I think a lot of us understand that we are effectively at full employment in upstate New York and the United States, and that one of the places that businesses can really find success stories is if they start working with people with disabilities as candidates. So we went to Death Wish after a mutual introduction, and we said we can help you. They opened up 2 full-time positions in their packaging and their roasting facility. We asked them if they wouldn't mind opening 4 part-time positions rather than 2 full-time positions. We brought in 7 candidates one day, had a 2-hour interview, and they've offered 4 part-time positions to 4 of those 7 people and have a bullpen, so to speak, of 3 more people. And so that's the kind of thing that we do. We believe strongly in building jobs for individuals with disabilities and working with businesses when we can directly. When we can't, we make available the back end of our website to these 40 businesses and any that want to join to be able to search for candidates. Go to the next slide. We knew early on that we could not put a brick and mortar place together and have businesses walk in and have individuals with disabilities walk in, so we needed to create a web page online, and we needed a place where people could find us, where Google could find us, more importantly, and where businesses and individuals could tell us who they are. And so hence ourability.com. We have spent a lot of time in the last 9 years in getting Google to see us as disability employment. So we rank relatively high in Google for disability employment, and that's purposeful. We want people to understand that's who we are. Remember, our mission is to fulfill the dreams of individuals with disabilities, but employment is the fuel, and we never want to lose that, and so this is really important to do it. I mentioned individuals and I mentioned businesses, so go to the next slide. Individuals come onto our website and we need to know who they are, so we ask them to come into our Connect part of our website, and on Connect they can fill out who they are. They can register individually, or they can sign in with their LinkedIn profile. Go to slide 7. But when they register individually, they start to build their profile. They tell us what their experiences are. They tell us what their what their work history is. They tell us what their volunteer experience is, and it builds a profile. What it doesn't do is it doesn't allow you to build up your own skill points. The time and effort in your experience and your volunteerism build up your skill points. Why is that? Any of us work, we put time into our work, our skills grow over the time in our work. We don't get to choose what our skills are necessarily. Time and effort build our skills. So as your profile moves forward, your skill points go up. Go ahead and go to the next slide. This was purposeful because we wanted people to build up their ability. It was very important as people put in their information, they see what they've created. Again, similar to LinkedIn. And we want individuals with disabilities to come in here and tell us who they are. More importantly, us, tell the businesses who they are, so that those 40 businesses that search the database can find candidates. Go to the next slide. What do we do for the business? Those businesses that are working with us not only get to search the database of candidates, but we want businesses to get something else in return. Every business asks for a way to post jobs. Okay, we answered their question. We started to build a scraping service where jobs are posted automatically. How do we do that? We get their RSS feed or their HTML feed of their existing jobs today. We put them up on ourability.jobs. We work with them to be able to get these jobs posted every day. We tell our candidates that are in the system, go look at ourability.jobs for open jobs, right? Look for what's open. Try to figure out what works in your category. And so we've given something to individuals with disabilities with their profile and with job openings, and we've given something to businesses to be able to post jobs and search the database. We're trying to create a bridge between individuals with disabilities, disability service providers, and businesses that need employees. One of the great things is we have a wonderful story to tell, that if individuals with disabilities get an opportunity, they will stay 7 times longer in a position than an able-bodied individual. Think about that, 7 times longer. As a business owner myself, or as a person that's spoken to many business owners, once you say that the pressure's off in finding people, that you'll find somebody with the ability to do the job and they'll stay longer because they are loyal and longer lasting, that is huge. That's the reason Death Wish Coffee started to work with us, and that's the reason we're going to continue to work with them, because our candidates, our employees will stay longer. That's money to their bottom line, and that's longevity in their employment, and that's really important. So that's what we do, and that's what we like to do, and we need to do this all day long. Now, one quick side note. We recently, if you've been on the front page of our website at ourability.com, you'll see that there's a blurb about Microsoft. We have been lucky, blessed to be working with Microsoft and Syracuse University in this last 6 months. Both have come to us and said that they would like to be supportive and to lend a hand in using new technologies, using new intelligence to be able to do a better job in drawing the abilities out from individuals with disabilities and building profiles. So we are right now using artificial intelligence to build the next generation of our portal that will do a better job in harnessing young people with disabilities that are interested in getting their skills out there and matching them with existing job openings today. We're excited about where this is going. It's going to be a dramatic change, not only in the disability space in helping individuals find jobs, but quite frankly, it's going to be a dramatic change in any diversity category, any marginalized society category that has trouble in finding employment for individuals. And so we're excited about this change. We're excited about the people that are watching us. It's a little daunting, the people that are watching us, to see how successful this can become. But we are extremely serious in helping those people that want to work find work. And what does that really mean? Helping those people that have dreams fulfill those dreams. And it is so important, period. I didn't want to work at a TV station when I graduated Syracuse University just for the sake of working at a TV station. I wanted a family, a house, a dog that's going to bark. I wanted all of that. And the fuel for that is employment. And we can't forget that. We all understand, or we're close to the numbers, that there are 1.1 million New Yorkers with disability working age, 16 to 64, and that we're 70% unemployed. That means there's over 700,000 individuals with disabilities working age that are unemployed. That's a big number. And yet we hear from businesses all day long that they can't fill jobs. Just in the 40 companies that we work with, there are 50,000 jobs available on our website alone. Can't we do a better job? And so that's what we're trying to do. Next slide. One of the reasons why I do this is, and some of you may know this from the media that we've we've harnessed, not intentionally necessarily, but has happened to us, is because of a project. So for 50 weeks a year, we build job opportunities for individuals with disabilities. For 2 weeks a year, I took the challenge that my wife threw down at me years ago and said, why don't you take a little trip? I had a chance to get on a hand cycle for the first time in my life in 2012. And as soon as I did so, my wife said, wouldn't it be great if we took a little hand cycle trip? Go to the next slide. She had something a little bit bigger in mind than I did. She decided she wanted to tackle New York State on a bike. I said, there's no way, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do, the 200 miles on the thruway. She goes, no, it's 350 miles. She said, it's all downhill. Well, that's not right. It's not downhill. It's only downhill where it's not uphill. But she challenged me. She said, you know what, we can cross New York State, and wouldn't it be great for yourself? And I said, I don't care. She goes, wouldn't it be great to show other people with disabilities that they can do it? That was the moment that I was silent and realized that, you know what, it would be interesting. Could we generate interest? Could we get people with disabilities to come out and see us? Could we get people with disabilities to come out and try something new? Could we get people off the couch? We know that people with disabilities are 2.5 times more likely to be in the poverty level because they're not working, and 2 times more likely to be obese, again, because they're not working. So could we at least, spend some time and try to get people up and active? So I accepted the challenge, and we mapped out 17 days in 2013 that we would begin. Go ahead. We trained, but we trained on asphalt. And we didn't realize that the majority of the canal path in 2013 was on stone dust, as this picture shows. And so we're in for a little bit of a surprise on that first 2 days when we got out there. Go ahead. We started June 23rd, 2013. There we are, fresh as daisies, ready to go and start to cycle. One of the cool things was that Doug Hamlin, who works with me on our ability, he said, I have a hand cycle. I'd like to join you. And so he goes, I can't do every mile, but I could do 1 or 2 miles a day, and I'd like to help out. I said that would be great. So we started hand cycling that first day. We did our 22 miles. We got to Lockport. We got to Lake Effect Ice Cream. And I realized, oh my God, I've got 16 more days to go. Day 2, it was 95 degrees, all on stone dust, 27 miles. And I was an hour late to getting to Albion, and I was ready to give up. And there in Albion with Orleans County from the ARC, there were people on their front porch, front lawn with melted ice cream and hot water waiting for us to get there. And they said that we were their heroes. And that pretty much solidified to me that we're going to keep going. Go to the next slide. So we did keep going. And then a few days later, we got to Rochester, and we got to meet Ryan Chalmers, who won a gold medal in Rochester, or in London, at the Paralympics in 2012. So Ryan I'd met in London, and we were invited to his event, but go to the next slide. It was pretty quickly not about Ryan. It was about the people that we met. And so there's these two little boys in 2013 tricked out with their wheelchairs and their lights in the back and face paint, and they said to Doug and I they'd like to ride their hand cycle when they grow up across New York State. And so you realize why you're doing what you're doing. And it's not about riding your hand cycle across New York State. It's about what that will do to their well-being down the road. And physical activity is a big part of that big dream in life. Remember, we want to fulfill the dreams of individuals with disabilities, and employment is the fuel, but there's so much more that I wanted to achieve in my life other than working at a TV station. So we get to Albany 16 days later, and we finish our goal, and a young man with cerebral palsy that we know in our community pulled me aside and said, Mr. Robinson, can I talk with you? And I said, sure. And he said, no, I need to talk to you privately. And I said, sure, Luke. And so we walk over to away from everybody else. And Luke says, when you and Mr. Hamlin do this next year, Mr. Robinson, can I please join you for a day or two? And I said, there's no way in you know what, I'm going to do it again. But then, of course, I realized pretty quickly that wasn't going to be true. So fast forward, and you can fast forward to the next few slides. We did. We've done it for the past few years. And so we're proud to have crossed New York State on our hand cycles. Since 2013, we've done it 7 years. It's kind of amazing to think about it. We've learned a lot about ourselves along the way. I'll stop right there and I'll go back a little bit to one slide. Last year we were able to not only do 3 days on the Erie Canal in 2018, but we also were invited to Scotland. And that was a very selfish trip on our part. We accepted the invitation to take our bikes over to Scotland. I shipped my bike over. We got a biking organization to loan us bikes for the able-bodied folks. And Doug and I got there, and pretty quickly we realized it wasn't selfish at all, that there are people with disabilities all over the world that need to be seen inspiration, and also need to realize that there are others out there with the same struggle. And it's not the struggle in cycling, it's the struggle in employment. And so that's what we did. And we went to Scotland last year and did their 100 miles, and we did 100 miles in the Erie Canal. And so we had a good year. This year, I don't have a picture yet up on the PowerPoint, but this year we were invited by the New York State Canal, the Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, to become part of their Canalway Challenge. And so back to our very original dream, we turned it back around to the Canalway, and we said it would be great. We'd love to get people to come out and do 15, 30, 60, 360 miles, but we want people to just do the first mile. So the Canalway offered a first mile challenge. And so this year and in the years to come, we're going to get people with disabilities, anybody, quite frankly, to come out and just do 1 mile. So we're going to expand our first mile challenge and get people to come out, so that, because we know that 1 mile turns into 10, turns into 20, etc. And so this year we did all 360 miles. We didn't miss 1 mile, and we'll do it again next year. So if you are interested and you want to come out and support, we would love to have people just do 1 mile, join the first mile challenge, and come out and be a small part of it, because it's really important to us. It's not about us, and you can go to the next slide. It's about the people that we meet along the way. It becomes extremely important. The people that we meet along the way. This is from 2016. Niagara County came out, Community Services came out, Senator Ort came out, which is great. You can see the one person in the suit. That's the politician always in the summer. It's important for us to see our friends and to make new friends and to just raise awareness. And that's what this is about. Next slide. We understand that life is not about sunny days all the time, that once in a while it rains, and that's a good analogy for life as people with disabilities. You know what? There are challenges in our life, and sometimes there are rainy days, and we need to understand that we have to push through it no matter what happens. But it is about the people that you meet along the way. And so the next slide, we've had a great relationship not only with Community Services in Niagara County, Monroe County, but we've had a great relationship with Wayne County. And I show this slide because Wayne County provides us lunch every year, and that's really important to us because we like to eat. We burn a lot of calories as we're out there, but we also got to have known many of the people at Wayne County ARC and watch them build a great structure and great facilities along the canal. Next slide. We've gotten to know the great people in Monroe County and Rochester, who make us lunch bags with great M&Ms and give us bagels, and it's fun. We've met the same people every year for 7 years, and it's good to see their smiling faces. Move along to the next slide and share the experiences with them, and thank them for the lunch that they provide and the love that they give us. And we know how important they are to us. Next slide. And ultimately, we get home towards the capital region, days down the road, and we get to Liberty ARC. And I show this slide. It doesn't do justice. Liberty gives us a parade, and we're not parade worthy by any means, but it is awfully nice, and there are goosebumps when you cycle around the parking lot and everybody from Liberty ARC is out cheering us on. Um, it means the world to me and to Doug, I know, and that's what we're about. We're about raising awareness, understanding that there's ability within all of us, understanding that there's a dream. You know, my dream was to have a life. My dream was to be physically active when many people didn't think I could be. In this case, you know, I can remember watching my dad teach my sister to ride a bike, watching my wife teach my kids to ride a bike. I couldn't do that. Well, it's not a bike, it's not a bicycle, it's a hand cycle, but here it is. I can remember thinking about playing with these Matchbox cars and wondering if I'd ever be able to race a car. Well, not racing a car, but I'm driving a car. And I can remember watching sports thinking I want to play, but realizing, well, maybe I can't do that, but maybe I can work at a television station that broadcasts sports. You know, all the people that we touch have dreams, and we understand the catalyst that can accelerate those dreams is employment and opportunity. And so that's why we do what we do. All right, I'm stopping. The chat bot is empty. Why? Ask questions. Please, speak through the chat.
There was a question, can you please, at some point, address people with disabilities who are not physical and not obvious initially? Someone who is high functioning enough to come off as immature rather than with ASD.
Okay, so just can I see those questions as well, or they come to you only?
Yeah, they only came to me. Let me see if I can get it to you.
I can answer the question in the meantime. Listen, we work with, we are not just people with physical disabilities. We work with all people to find employment. The 7 people that we brought to Death Wish Coffee, the 200 people that we bring to Price Choppers 5 stores, are a majority of them, probably 70%, are people with developmental disabilities. We still all have an ability. And so what we do with our ability is work with the businesses to educate the businesses to understand that if you're looking for talent, you may need to look in a different way. But there are people that can do the job, and we need to understand that there are people that can do the job. So a lot of that responsibility is on our part to educate the businesses that there are people with differences out there, that 71% of the disabilities are invisible, and that the disabilities present differently. But if we get the businesses to focus on what the job function is exclusively, and we get the individuals to focus on their ability to do the job function, then we can come to some common ground. What I would say to you is we need constantly and continuously to please focus on the ability to do something, not what is different. And so somebody that's high functioning that presents as immature is still high functioning. And so we have to find what the function is and harness that and try to adapt towards that for employment. And that's really key. Not easy. Nothing about this is easy, but that is what we focus on when we work with businesses on a regular basis. When that is successful, then in this case, those employees stay a long time. And that's something that the businesses we work with understand. Okay, so if you could, the audience members, if you want to chat, if you could please change your drop down in the chat to be organizers and panelists, that would be great. Then I can see the questions. And hopefully, if I'm saying the name Franca right, that I answered your question. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Anybody want to cycle next year? While I'm waiting for questions, I'm going to just put in one plug. Those of you that are on the call that may be providers or parents, we're going to have a webinar in 2 weeks' time with KeyBank. KeyBank would like to talk to our community about the jobs that they have available in Western New York and jobs that you may not consider. So we're excited about that. There'll be an email blast that goes out here in the next week. And so if those providers that get the email blast, please share it along, because we would like to have as many people on the webinar with KeyBank so that KeyBank can tell people about the jobs that they have.
John, look in your chat. Any questions?
Yep. When I speak about disability, am I talking about mental illness as well? Dory, absolutely. There is, disability, in my mind, is the definition that the federal government sets out, which is one aspect, dramatically impacts one aspect of your life. Certainly having a mental illness does, or addiction does. And so I do work with and talk about mental illness as part of disability all the time. When I'm talking about employment, if you think about it, what I've just said, I'm not talking about any disability specifically. I'm talking about the ability to do the job. Having said that, mental illness is always the question that comes up with the businesses because of our societal media look at mental illness with what's going on with gun control, etc. Mental illness always comes up, and so we talk about it. We talk about the ability to do the job. And so on the other side, I would urge all people with disabilities, regardless of the disability, to focus on what your ability to do the job is. And then if you get into a situation where you need to talk about an accommodation with your disability, that's where you may want to talk about it. Self-disclosing your disability is always a challenge, and so I don't want to diminish that. I learned very early that I can't hide my disability, but even though I tried, and so I need to disclose what I need with my disability all the time. But we certainly talk about mental health challenges with the businesses that we work with. And anybody in our system, we certainly have people in that category that we work with. We got a question about our cycling event. The cycling event is for 2 solid weeks from Buffalo to Albany. Well, it's actually 10 solid days. And it'll be the end of June next year. So if you watch our website, you'll see the dates. And the reason is because my wife is a school nurse, and I don't want to do it without her. So we leave right after the school year, and we start cycling across New York State. What else? We got tons of questions. Are these services available for young people living in New York City? Absolutely. We're helping people all over the world. We're helping people all over the state. New York City is still part of New York State. Not to be funny, but Belinda would be happy to help. Yes, either have people let us know who they are through the portal or contact us directly. We'd be happy to help. But New York City is really important to us. Even though I think upstate, because I'm from upstate, we do work in New York City. We have 4 meetings a year in New York. Our next meeting in New York with the business community is November 1st. So that's a timely question. Is there ongoing support or professional development for people that are already placed? My answer to that is the responsibility of both the business, the individual, and the disability service provider. We obviously will help a business anytime they need training and support, but we're not the ongoing support for the individual to continue to build their training. There are certainly enough providers, XSVR, systems that are out there. We don't want to take anybody else's system. We're just trying to be the conduit between employment and non-employment. So I would urge others to continue to work with their professional development to keep going. Um, the next question's about benefits, and benefits certainly come up. A lot of folks who are trying to keep their benefits and work and to figure all that out. Again, my two answers to that is extremely important. It's one of the reasons why we push businesses to think about part-time jobs. Having said that, I know that I made more money once I went full-time. So part of that is the balance for the individual to figure out where they're better off and to let go of the safety net, so to speak. So we work with the businesses to try to think about part-time jobs. At the same time, we're really trying to push for improvement in economic outcomes for individuals in working full-time as well. Again, we need to make the dream bigger. There are systems in place, and there are better parties in place to talk about those systems for keeping your benefits and doing it the right way as you work. But I am a firm believer in working, and that my life has been much improved when I got off benefits and made more money. So that's something that I'm a firm believer in. But we will work with individuals to find part-time positions and figure out the best way to do that. What's the percentage of people who created a profile and had success with employment? That, quite frankly, is anecdotal. I don't know. We never built it up to be the job placement service. Notice we're not a headhunter. What we are is a bridge between the two. As we develop our artificial intelligence, we'll know that number. We want people in the system. We want businesses to find them. I know our numbers in placing people directly. We've placed about 250 people directly with the 40 businesses, but that doesn't mean businesses can't find their own candidates through our portal. And that's, quite frankly, the marketplace. LinkedIn knows some of the people that find jobs in the general population. They don't know everybody. We've done that purposefully. We don't want to be a funnel. We don't want to stop people from finding a job if we don't have the time to help them. So that's the reason we don't work on that number. Does work contact me, or can families contact me? Either. We absolutely want businesses to contact me. We absolutely want disability service providers to contact me. And I certainly get family members that contact us directly. Completely understand. And that's because, we are people with disabilities. We're parents of people with disabilities. We get it. We would probably, in most cases, urge family members to build a profile, to think about making those dreams bigger, and to work actively with the best disability service provider that they have, because that's where the better outcomes will come. We are the conduit to the businesses, both for the individual and for the disability service provider. The last question I have on here is, are eating and depression disorders and disabilities part of what we talk about? And, what suggestions do we have? We don't differentiate on the disability. Having said that, certainly understand addiction, certainly understand depression, certainly understand mental health issues. Again, we need to start focusing on the ability of the young person to do something. When we build on the ability to do something, then it takes the focus away from the disability and onto the ability, and we will focus on the ability, then the dreams get bigger, then employment can happen. We understand that better health outcomes occur when employment occurs. And so by focusing not on the eating disorder and the depression, but focus on the ability and the employment, then we can all work towards a better outcome, whether it be a parent, a caregiver, disability service provider, or an employer. So everything that we do is focusing on what we can do and the ability, and not what we cannot do and the disability. Great. This group is great with questions, by the way.
Here's the question. Is there any more questions? All right. John, as usual, you were awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for sharing everything with us. For the people on the webinar, please remember to do your evaluation. And if you are interested in wanting to be on our listserv, a monthly Access, it's called Access newsletter, goes out once a month with information about what's going on in your communities, what's going on at a state level, what's going on at a national level, and what activities we are in the middle of, whether it be hosting a conference or putting out mini grants or also distributing our written materials. That's the place to get your information. So again, you can do so. You can log into, you can go to the nystransitionpartners.org website and register to receive access so that you can stay in the loop. John, again, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, and we'll look forward to seeing you at the next learning community.
Thank you.